before you watch this video, if you love the Amazing Digital Circus and you will die on that hill and you think that there is generally no critiques could be made of the show, I just advise you not to watch this video because it's not for you. If you would like to anyway, sure, but you might get rage baited, you might get upset, and I would prefer I not upset people, okay? I would prefer that. And at the very least, if you have the opposite opinion of me, just be respectful about it. And not in the way of like, hi bestie, all your opinions are kind of wrong. And no, what I want is for you to respect my opinion and say some things that you might kind of agree with or make genuine critiques about it, like give me some evidence of things that I said that were just factually wrong, which I appreciate, okay? And or you could just not give a fuck about me and leave hate comments, but I think that's pretty damn cringe and I think that's loser behavior. So, yeah, that's just me. And I'll probably end up deleting your comment because if you're going to be disrespectful, then whatever. I'm just bye, you know? So yeah, I want to have a discussion about this. A discussion, not an argument or I'm a little scared to release this, okay? Because I've seen some fans that are kind of hardcore deadcore. Hardcore deadcore? Hardcore would die on the hill that the Amazing Digital Circus is like fucking top tier shit, which you can have that opinion. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have that opinion, okay? I'm just saying I disagree with you. So yeah. That disclaimer is over. Now for the rest of the disclaimers. Hi guys. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the Amazing Digital Circus, okay? Now, a couple disclaimers. First of all, I like this show. I actually really like this show, okay? I wouldn't watch something I didn't like, okay? I'm not really one to hate watch, okay? So, know that all these critiques are coming from a place of a fan, okay? I've been here since the damn pilot, alright? And, second of all, I'm separating art from artist here. I'm critiquing the Amazing Digital Circus's writing. That's it. Okay, I'm not going to go into gooseworx, because there's been a lot of stuff revealed about some things that she said on Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that, and I don't agree with anything that she has done or said, and that is my opinion. You can have your own opinion. I don't really care. I just like to keep that conversation separate from this video because I just want to talk about the writing because that's what I'm really passionate about, okay? Third of all, when it comes to leaks and spoilers, I have not, like, watched any of the leaks. I know kind of the vibe of the ending because I've seen comments about it. So anytime I start talking about the ending, which I don't even know if I'll get into, I will say spoiler warning, okay? And then you can know, all right? Let's get into it. So I'm just going to read off a Tumblr post that I wrote, okay? Because at this point, I tried to, like, do my thoughts just vocally through my brain, and it's just not working correctly. So I'm just gonna fucking read it, and then I'll explain my thoughts throughout, and blah blah blah. This video is mostly gonna be talking about Jax, okay? Here's what I have. I mostly will be talking about Jax because I think he is the main reason why this show didn't hit in the right way. And not just because he's an abuser or because I hate his character, because you can write hateable characters, you can write abusers in your show and it still be good. For example, BoJack Horseman or Breaking Bad. And spoilers for those later on. But I will go on a bit of a dislike rant now so I can get it out of my system. I don't care if it's because he thinks the world doesn't matter, that none of these people are real. I don't care if it's because his little heart is broken because he lost his friends. That is never an excuse. There can be a reason, but it's not an excuse. And here's the thing. If I was in this circus, I certainly would be pissed at him, but I genuinely would give him a chance like Pomni is to a degree, okay? I would try to help him the best I can, and when my limit is reached, I will fuck the hell off. No one in that circus has any duty or any responsibility to nurse Jax into being an okay person. If they don't want to do that while they are already dealing with their own issues, that is literally valid. And it's valid to try and help him anyway, okay? But I dislike Jax. There is not a single thing about him that I enjoy. He's not even that funny. Maybe it's just my sense of humor, but I don't find him funny. I mean, I find him cringe a lot of the time. And I know that we always say to be cringe is to be free, you know, but there are two types of cringe, okay? Maybe there was this video that I saw that explains it perfectly. Hold on. Okay, I found it. Let me get this started. Okay, shout out to this content creator. Okay, I got this video on my For You page and I've never agreed to something more. Okay, let's watch it.
There's two types of cringe.
To be cringe is to be free.
Absolutely. There's two types of cringe. Type 1 is self-assured. It's being silly and minding your business with your friends. It's having fun exploring a unique sense of self without the need for approval from a conformist mass. An example of type 1 cringe is Brennan Lee Mulligan's feature on Very Important People. Type 2 seeks approval. It demands attention and laughs from an audience that ultimately owes you nothing. It goes beyond weirdness into expecting approval for boldness that is insufficiently impressive. To parlay a phrase, it insists upon itself. Examples of cringe that seeks approval are Fred, true crime fans who insist they could get away with murder despite limited experience, and Demi Adejuwebe's stand-up special. I want to be clear, neither are worthy of ridicule. But one is much less worthy than the other.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying, okay? Jax is performing, okay? And it's not out of genuinity of him being himself, okay? It's actually the complete fucking opposite, okay? He's not being himself. And that's what's so damn cringe about it. You are my plaything. Shut up! I hate it. I'm sorry. So, whenever I say he's cringe, I mean it like that. I know that to be cringe is to be free, okay, but there are some limits. There's some limits. But yeah, that is I don't know how to pronounce the username. Chorus Sir, Koris space SER. Okay. Awesome sauce. Okay. But there are more valid reasons as to why I don't like him besides that he's cringe. You know, mostly that he's an abuser, gets away with it, and he just disgusts me. All of his actions disgust me. So anyway, hate train kind of over, okay? Now, about how whenever I was like, I don't care about all this stuff, all the reasoning, it's no excuse, I don't give a fuck. That was past me, okay? That was hate Olivia. Now I'm understanding Olivia, okay? I don't want my words of Jax to come off like I don't understand that abusers usually abuse because they are scared, went through a traumatic experience, or were taught it in some way, and that we should just kill all abusers on the site of the first sign of abuse, because that is not what I'm saying. There is a lot of nuance to what all of it means and the degree of abuse and the circumstances, and it's never black and white. And I think the representation of what abusers go through and what makes them abuse and what's going through their heads is a needed one. But holy fuck, you cannot do that in a 9-episode show with 7 characters in it, okay? You just can't, okay? I mean, you could try, and you tried, and I think that you succeeded as best as you could, but it's not gonna be 100% successful. Also, I don't think that you can write an abusive character and not show to the audience that when you are like this, you get severely punished for it. The most Jax has ever gotten was insults from Zubul in one fight with Pomni. And when he tried to keep everyone in the circus and Zubul tried to say, hey, what the fuck, you are fucking insane, Gangle, in this moment, decides to be like, well, we all gotta work together and be friends or else. And I understand what gooseworx is trying to do and say here. I have no mouth and I must scream did this right, but again, it falls flat because you only have 9 episodes to do this. It just doesn't feel genuine. There's something about it that doesn't feel real. And I know what you're thinking, Olivia. It's a fucking YouTube, a fucking cartoon animated Oingo Bloingo ass series. But I don't care because these are characters that we care about. things that we care about are real. These characters that we care about are real. They have issues, they have personalities, they have character arcs, they are their own people, and it just doesn't feel real. I don't know. It's hard to explain. The previous example I gave of BoJack Horseman in Breaking Bad, BoJack is given multiple chances to become better, and sometimes he takes those chances but ends up back to his abusive ways. And Walter White literally had a fresh start and still chose to go back to Albuquerque, and guess what happens? Spoiler alert for the endings of both of these series. They both die in horrible, horrendous ways alone because they're abusers and they abuse everyone in their life and no one gives a fuck about them anymore. And that's just what happens when you're a piece of shit. That is the consequences to your own actions. And Jax, the only consequences he gets is his own depression and angst about his actions. It's like BoJack was miserable about his actions, but that didn't make him a better person. That's the whole point of the show. Just because you know you're a shitty person doesn't mean that makes you a better person. Actually knowing that you're shitty and not getting better is, I feel, worse than not knowing you're shitty and not getting better. Because at least, if you don't know, you have that kind of reason as to why you're not getting better is just because you're not aware that what you're doing is abusive and harmful. But BoJack knows this knows that he's a piece of shit and just can't get better. And he had an awful life. Awful life. We see his childhood and it's awful. And here's why what BoJack the Horseman did was good. Because we all hate BoJack Horseman. We all hate him. I mean, there are some people who don't hate him and kin him, but they we don't need to talk about that. But he is an awful person. But at the same time, you don't really see people online going, "Oh my god, can this guy wrap it up?" Like, and just constantly making fun of BoJack, and in the ways that we're seeing people make fun of Jax, because they are complete opposites. BoJack is written well. He is a complex character with a lot of depth and feels real. Jax doesn't feel real. He just kind of feels like this guy who just does things and they're awful and we know why he does it, but it just doesn't improve his character at all. We don't feel that connection with Jax, okay? But yeah, they get cooked at the end of their shows, okay? And I don't know how the series ends. But I do know that something happens to Jax that is kind of similar. Spoilers. Okay. Spoilers. In 3, 2, 1. I know Jax abstracts. I know this. And I don't know how to feel about it. I've been praying for his downfall and his abstraction ever since the Guns episode, okay? I really was looking forward to it. And then I saw what it was like to almost abstract. And Jax is like, well, fuck yeah, this is great. Whenever abstraction became, I thought, before that moment, I thought that abstraction was this awful thing that happens to you whenever you lose your mind and you become this monster and you kind of, it's a painful, awful experience and you're trapped in a cellar and you are gone as a person, and that is a horrible thing to happen. But then we have this moment where Jax, it seems like it's a peaceful euthanasia, a voluntary peaceful suicide, okay? If that's what happens, I don't feel good about that. Because what do you mean? What do you mean? Jax literally, like, gets to escape peacefully when he's, like, the literal number one abuser, and he gets to escape all the consequences to his actions. I mean, I don't know what the ending is, but just knowing that information, it makes me a bit nervous, okay? I'm gonna move on to the rest of my Tumblr posts. I'm getting a bit sidetracked, okay? So, specifically, Pomni and Jax is the biggest gripe I have with this show, okay? When Pomni shows up at the circus, episode by episode, she learns more about her fellow prisoners and helps each one of them in some way. She sees Jax reserved and spiteful and genuinely wants to make an effort to get to know him and maybe help him, I'm assuming. So she tries to. We all know how that ended up. Ragatha saw Pomni hanging out with Jax, and subsequently, the hanging out is just doing what Jax does, being chaotic evil and not caring about others, etc. Pomni seems to enjoy this to a certain extent, finally letting loose and finding solace in Jax's nothing matters idea, because it is exhausting to be a prisoner trapped in a never-ending circus hell with the idea that all of this does matter, because it's just an awful thing, you know? Ragatha sees this behavior and kind of freaks out, nervous that Pomni will end up like Jax. That what happened to Kaufmo and Ribbit will happen to Pomni, as it is kind of implied that it was Jax's nothing matters thinking that made them both abstract. This is something that is only implied, as the rest of the cast blames him for it, according to him. I doubt that it really was all of Jax's fault, as he states that being around someone before they abstract, it's really awful. They're usually a miserable person to be around. And if I were to guess, Kaufmo and or Ribbit were both struggling a lot with being in the circus, and Jax tried to help by telling them it's okay because nothing matters. He might have failed to realize that while this perspective works for him, kind of, it doesn't mean it will for them. That isn't a crime. He was trying to help, but that doesn't mean you should keep doing it, buddy. Okay? If you realize, if part of the reason why they abstract is your doing, I think you should stop doing what you're doing. Hot take. It just seems like he doesn't, like, he cares, but it doesn't come off like he cares because he's not willing to change. I mean, his response to Kaufmo and Ribbit both abstracting is to completely close himself off to any connection, which is fair. He doesn't want to leave himself vulnerable. It's the main reason why he's a piece of shit. But anyways, in this episode, Pomni is completely role-playing this chaotic evil for fun and wanted to get closer to Jax. Jax felt that he got closer and he hated it. He didn't want to feel vulnerable, didn't want to get close to someone who wasn't real and just a plaything to him. And he acts out horrendously. Jax is not only an abuser to Ragatha and Gangle and Zubul and fucking those people, but when I rewatched the scene of they all get guns, when Pomni and Jax start arguing, I was disgusted by Jax's behavior, calling Pomni delusional and gaslighting her. You must be misremembering when Pomni says you reached out to me. Pomni tries her hardest and kept trying even when he tried to sweep a friendly hangout under the rug. This argument happened and I felt like nothing changed in the show besides Jax being very emo for the rest of the show. It didn't feel to me like Pomni was very affected by this, even though in the argument, like, she's shaking. She is very upset and heartbroken by what Jax is saying. Jax literally said, I don't give a fuck if you die tomorrow. And she was like, okay, Jesus fucking Christ, what did I do to you? And it seemed like Pomni was really, really just overall shaken up by this. And then, to my knowledge, from my memory, the rest of the episodes, it never felt like Pomni at all was affected by this. After the fact, she was like, what's whatever. And continuously still kind of reached out to Jax. It's like, okay, you're just an enabler at this point. Okay, whatever. And I love Pomni. I just feel like her character just went like right then and there whenever Pomni stood up for herself, and then now she's just like whatever. And I'm like, well, what happened? it just feels like everything is about him. Even in an argument where Pomni was emotionally manipulated, it's about him. All we fucking see is how goddamn miserable he is because this kind of argument was kind of like the crux of him being like, fuck, because she did read him like a goddamn book. And I get why he's upset. But I feel like we should see the other side as well. And the last thing about Jackson Pomney is I I fucking hate the I can fix him trope that we see in media all the damn time because it is rooted in misogyny. There's a reason why the trope is I can fix him and never I can fix her. It's because men so often don't respect women and generally are kind of pieces of shits, okay? And women who want to date these men kind of settle for them and with the hope that I'll date him and make him a better person so that we can both be happy. And sometimes this works. And she usually just has all this trust and belief that he's going to care for her enough that he's willing to change and be a better person for her. And usually, most of the time, he doesn't respect her enough to do that. And this trope, and it's always at the woman's expense because doing this, trying to help him be a better person is never this like fun thing to do. It's always awful and it's always at her expense. It is always days of arguing. It is always very awful for her and it is always very emotionally distressing for her. And that's why I'm saying that it's rooted in misogyny because it's at the woman's expense and the men just don't give a fuck, okay? And this trope is literally said in the merch, okay? In the merch, there's a couple's t-shirt of Jax being like, with Jax's face on it being like, I can fix him, and then Pomni's face in it being, I can make her worse. And I get that it's supposed to be a joke, but if the joke is at a woman's expense, it's not fucking funny. Because the joke here is, ha ha! Pomni thinks that she can, like, try and help Jax be a better person. That's so funny. Actually, Jax is gonna keep being an abusive little shit, make her life worse. Isn't it funny how she's so stupid that she thinks that she can help Jax? Isn't that so funny? No, it's not, actually. It's really not. I don't like it. And it's being played into literally by the creators. And I get it's a joke, and I'm sure that that's not what they actually think of the relationship. But I mean, come on. I just don't like Jax at all, and I just don't really get why so many people love him. I get that it's because you relate to him, and that's all well and cool. And there are different types of relatability you can have with him. Maybe you relate to him in the fact that he's most likely definitely trans and you like his trans experience and you really relate to that. That's cool. Hell yeah. But I think that if you relate to him in the way that you're doing his actions and you're not realizing that it's abusive, I think that you should get some help, and if you are getting help and you like Jax because you relate to him and you're getting help, that's all cool as long as you're getting help and as long as you realize that Jax is an abuser and a piece of shit, okay? I don't really enjoy Jax defenders that are less defenders and more apologists because it's like, no. Another thing I don't like is that Jax specifically doesn't really abuse Kinger that much, which is like the only man in the circus and besides Kane. And I don't like that. I get that it's probably because Kinger is like too dumb whenever he's in light that like he's not a worthy enough plaything for Jax to manipulate and emotionally abuse. It still feels wrong to me. All of this has sexist undertones to me that just kind of irk me in a way. And I don't like it. It kind of icks me. And I don't know. I that's base That's basically all I had to say. I think the main issue is Jax. Because it's 9 episodes and there's 7 characters. I feel like if this show started with Jax being the main character, it would have gone a little bit better. Because I thought Pomni was going to be the main character, especially because that's how it started. And the first 3 episodes, it seemed like she is. And there's a sudden main character switch. And it seems like the first few episodes they were like juggling all these characters and trying to fit in everything they could in these 3 episodes or however many episodes, and then all of a sudden they were like, Jax, and then like all the balls drop. All the balls drop, okay? And now it's just like Jax, just pounding into our heads, and we're like, I'm kind of interested in all the balls on the floor you just dropped, and they're like, no, actually Jax, and I'm like, erg, I don't know, justice for Pomni and Ragatha and Gangle and Zubul, okay? Okay? I feel like Kinger got a good bit of exposition that I don't feel that way with Kinger, and that's why I'm a little bit more sus, because it's like, if I feel this way with all of the non-men, but none of the men, why am I feeling like that? You know? Why? I just want to know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe. I mean, that is, like, again, I like this show. I know it may seem like I hate this show. I like this show. I was here since the damn pilot, okay? I really was interested in this show. I really loved it. I watch it with my boyfriend every time it comes out, and it is an enjoyable show, okay? Which is why I'm critiquing it, because I don't really critique things I don't give a fuck about. Like, Invincible, God, that show is kind of butt. Season 4 is kind of butt, okay? But I don't care enough about it to give a damn, okay? It's basically Cocomelon to me. I watch it, I see the funny jokes, and I see the horrible things of the show, and I go, wow, that was an experience. It was enjoyable because it was enjoyable, and then I don't really give a fuck. And I don't love Invincible, but I do love this show, which is why I care so much about it, why I'm so passionate about it, because I would have loved to see the show succeed more. I want to see what this show could have been if there was more episodes, more seasons, or just overall some tweaks in the writing. Like, I really think it could have been amazing. Like, actually top tier. But it's kind of just in the mid. And I think that's it. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about this show. I mean, there's more I could go on about. There's more I could say, but I really think that's the crux of it. You know, I feel like more would just be too nitpicky, or I might come off like the wokester, which I know I already do in this video. Again, I want to have a real discussion about this, so like, let me know your thoughts, but be respectful, and I want a discussion, not like a comment being like, "Hey, fuckface, you're so wrong." You know, I'm saying to him, it's the goddamn internet. No one's gonna, care. I'm probably gonna get so many hate comments, but it's fine. I just want my opinion to be out there. I just want to find people like me, okay? You know? So yeah, if you are a fan of this video, let me know, because there's probably so many hate comments and I would just like to bounce it out. And also, if I implore you to check out my other videos, I post a lot of stuff here sometimes. It kind of, I go to college, so whenever I'm at college, I like never make any videos because I'm just too damn busy. But I usually just come out and talk about things I care about, and then I disappear for a couple months because that's just how I work. So, and if you want me to talk about anything in particular, like if you want me to make another video about a very specific thing, or even about a specific argument I made in this video, just let me know. And if you want to see like my TikTok, I post more on, it's AA Mellow, just that on TikTok as well. I'm an artist, I make art. So if you want to commission me, you can do that too. It'll be in the description below. And just like and subscribe. Yeah. I'm very tired now. Okay, bye!